This is Power Athlete Radio. With your hosts, Denny K, Professor Booty, and the Luke Summers. And now, toes forward, hips locked, shoulders set, and retract those scapulars. It's time for some knowledge bombs.
Nation, it's that time once again. We got a good show in store for you today. As always, I'm joined with Luke Summers, Steve Playtech, and today we got a guest, Carl Case out of CrossFit South Bend. What's happening, fellas?
What's going on?
What's up, Danny?
Not much. So we've kind of had some pretty good shows the past couple shows, right? Jesse Burdick, K-Star. K-Star gets you thinking of like mobility and positioning. I mean, that last episode rocked, hearing him and John just kind of geek out on their philosophy. So last night I fulfilled a lifelong, or not a lifelong promise to my wife, but I always promised her that we would go see Bon Jovi, right? I'm more of a Metallica, Slayer, Slipknot guy, but every now and then you got to man up for your woman and either go see some kind of love movie, right, or go see a concert or a play or something like that, right? Something that's interesting to her. So we go see Bon Jovi, right? Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive, On a Steel Horse I Ride, right? We're talking the man,
dude,
and he's up there.
Bon Jovi and Bon
Dude, just wait, it gets good. He's up there and he's dancing around. And I just kind of had a moment. I'm watching him and he's up on one leg. He's swinging his arms to the left and the right. His knees moving laterally, way extended to the left, way extended to the right. He steps, he turns, he's pivoting. Like his dancing was so like unmechanically sound, the exact opposite of everything that was talked about on the last episode. I was like, it's amazing that these people don't like get injured every single show because they're putting themselves in like compromising positions for like 3 hours straight. You know,
we got to get K-Star on Bon Jovi's roadie crew so he can work.
Serious, dude. I wonder how many or what's like the stat for performers getting injured during shows. I mean, you hear about a twisted knee every now and then or somebody falling off a stage.
They're all jacked up on painkillers anyway.
I don't know. I just thought that was so...
Didn't Lady Gaga just dislocate her hip or something?
Yes. Yeah, I've heard K-Star mention something about that.
And then didn't the dude from Rage Against the Machine break his foot, like hopping around watching? Dude, it's tough to be a rock star. It's hard. I know.
So somebody told you?
Well, I played Rock Band pretty seriously for a couple years, and it was pretty good. Signing autographs. Speaking of which, we just got an order last week for a T-shirt signed by Callie Hinsman.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll take one of those.
Well, you don't want my autograph, Steve? Was no good?
I don't take autographs from homeless people.
Oh, yeah. I told you guys that in confidence before we hit record.
My bad.
For the record, I'm not actually homeless. I just appear to be homeless. But
that was pretty interesting.
So while you're at Bon Jovi this weekend, what was everyone else doing? I know Callie and I were out in Utah putting on a seminar. That went well. But what about you guys, Steve? What did you do this weekend?
I hiked 10 miles and did some backcountry camping. Killed my food, lit a fire, lived caveman life.
Nice.
I did not take my female companion to see Bon Jovi and analyze movement patterns on stage. Denny, you sound like a real romantic.
I can be. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
All right.
I didn't go camping or see Bon Jovi or anything, but just kind of spent the weekend celebrating my birthday with some friends and watching some football. So it was a pretty good weekend.
Nice, dude.
Nice.
So
how about you, Luke Summers?
Oh, dude, I told you I was working all weekend.
Yeah, it's true.
But it was pretty cool. We were down in Utah. Basically, whenever we go down, Yelp is our guiding light in the terms of we're always looking for like a legit food place to go eat at, something that's local. You won't be able to get at home type deal. And I came across this place. One of the searches we throw out there is grass-fed burgers. And we came across this place in Utah called Bomb Diggity Burger. And it's pretty legit. We go, so you get in there, and it's just like a fast food place. It looks like, like I guess I was expecting maybe more of a. Carl, remember when we were in Hudson, we went to that burger place?
Yeah, I just asked you how it compared to Flipside or whatever it was called.
Yeah, so Flipside was like I would call it a premium burger place. But this Bomb Diggity Burger, which was in Utah, was it was like a fast food joint. You order, boom, get your food in a couple minutes. But all the meat, everything they had there, the produce and stuff, was all like locally sourced and organic and grass-fed and free range and stuff like that. And I thought, like, why isn't every place like this? Theoretically, why couldn't? I know there's scale that you have to accommodate for it. I'm not suggesting McDonald's or something like that, but why couldn't there be a location like that in every city? And it was it's pretty good. I'm not gonna say it's the best burger. It was no Flipside, Carl, because that was a pretty good burger. But it was pretty good, And I don't know, it's just cool to see something like that, and the folks down in Utah have that type of stuff available to them.
If you jokers ever come out here to visit me in Northeast Atlanta, there's a place out here called the Local Republic. It's the same thing, but it's probably more of an upscale thing. And instead of burgers, you get locally grown grass-fed steaks.
I like it. Yeah, we look for that too. Not a lot of places have that stuff though, but
no.
So and in terms of if we ever come, we have, I know.
Forget it. I forgot I said that.
We have Atlanta on the books for next year, dude. So here's how the seminars are going to work next year. We've hit our tipping point of work right now. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to limit some of the seminars. We're going to really focus on some of our satellite coaches, booking around like guys like Carl. And we're just going to have a set number of seminars. We're going to have them all out there by the beginning of the year. People are going to know when we're going to be places and where we're going to be there. And at the end of the day, if you want to get in on the CrossFit Football Seminar next year, there's limited courses, and they're all going to be up by Jan 1, and you're going to know where we're going to be. So we have a lot of stuff to take care of in 2024, and it's just a way for us to kind of mobilize our time and really knock some stuff out, because what we're going to try and do, kind of a good segue with the Wayne's Wings thing, is take it up a notch, and rather than just have it be a fundraiser for a few months at the end of the year, we're going to try and figure out how to make it an annual initiative and see if that's possible. And it's just, we've made such an impact. We broke our $30,000 goal. I think we're $1,000 over that right now. I know Carl's team over at CrossFit South Bend, they crushed it. Freddie's team, they're crushing it. A couple of the other teams are doing a great job. We are getting shirts in tomorrow. We're going to be shipping them all out this weekend. Donations are still open. We are scheduling, I believe, at the end of the month, we're going to have a cutoff in terms of donations that will be eligible for shirts. So if you're a location that's focusing on collecting for on the day of the event, which is November 12th, we're going to have our Wade's WOD. But if you're focusing your efforts on that, I'd suggest trying to collect those donations before that, because suggest, especially if you feel that, getting a Wade's Army shirt is going to be a selling point. We are likely going to be cutting that off just logistically. In terms of reaching order minimums, we're going to have to know how many shirts we want to ship out by the end of the month. But we're crushing it. I know, and I know these guys on the podcast, Steve, Carl, Denny, I saw their names come across the donations. It's awesome, and I think we're doing a great thing here. So yeah, that's part of kind of the static schedule for next year for the seminars. But so Steve, on that point, we'll be in Atlanta. We're going to stay at your house.
All right.
Take us to get some grass-fed steaks, and we're all going to have a blast.
And you're going to drag me to the seminar once and for all.
Exactly.
Sounds good. You're all welcome. Empty house now.
Beautiful.
Good to go.
But what else? Did you, Denny? I know before we talked, you said you might have some questions on like event day, how you manage that. But
yeah, well, I got an email from Tex just saying, like, here's a status where your team's at. You know, we're here to help. He sent me some some poster templates. You know, just some help to get some creativity going on ways to, you know, kind of spice up everything going into November 12th, to kind of boost some donations and to get everybody kind of fired up for the WOD. I know on the last episode we talked about our friend Neil down at CrossFit Naperville. He's doing like the Battle of the Burbs, you know, a separate event. Carl and I were talking before the show on, you know, some of the things that CrossFit South Bend was doing. And Carl, what were some of the ideas that you guys had planned on that?
Yeah, so what we were going to do is on November 12th, we're just going to kind of the whole gym just kind of decked out in weights, try and like get the characters and logos all over the place, decorate our pull-up system, kind of getting the whole place kind of in the feel. And then our whole gym that day will be doing weights workout. And then we'll kind of take advantage of that, kind of try to get some on-spot donations that at the end of the day we'll put through to Wade's Wings. And then our 5:30 class is really the one that we're going to try to push people towards, try to make like a big deal out of this. So we've really been pushing this pretty well. We just finished fundraising for Barbells for Boobs. So now we've really shifted our focus to Wade's, and we're going to try to make it a big deal here.
Yeah, and we kind of do the same thing. We kind of announce it every day on our whiteboard. We got kind of a countdown thing. Just to kind of, you know, keep everybody informed. We, you know, like on Facebook in our area, there's like an affiliate page, you know, where there's like multiple affiliates in our county and the surrounding counties, just kind of let everybody know of local competitions that we might be doing. But we've kind of put, you know, the Wade's Army word out there with, you know, other groups that CrossFit boxes that might not follow the CrossFit football programming or not, you know, and just they're unaware of what's going on. So using social media like that, we've seen some pretty good results. We encourage some of our members to bring some of their family and their friends on that specific day to try and do the workout. You know, of course, we'll scale it back, but we kind of ran like an elements group outside of our normal schedule just to kind of bring those people up to speed on just the kind of movements that they're going to be doing in that workout. So, and that seemed to work out pretty well and spark some interest. So we're kind of looking forward to it. But my point is, if there's anybody out there who, you know, is still unsure of where to go or, you know, how they can kind of spark some interest, email these guys, you know, email Tex, email the Power Athlete crew and ask for, you know, any kind of ideas that they might have, because they're communicating a lot more with a lot more people, you know, with this event than, you know I am. So I mean, they're still there and there's still time.
Yeah. And the email address you're going to want to hit up is Wade's Army, WADESARMY, all one word, at powerathletehq.com. And that's going to get to the right people. So I know personally at Balboa, we're programming for the day. Same thing that Carl's really got. You know, we're going to deck out the gym, get people in their Wade's Army shirts. We're going to have banners floating around, and the evening classes tend to be the more popular classes for us. So we're going to try and push people who are Lex members. Let's say they come in the morning or in the afternoon and sometimes in the evening. We're going to try and get the big crowd in the evening, and we're going to do a little film, put together a little video and post it up. And I encourage, you know, that's what we're looking forward to really help build awareness is if anyone's going to be filming, taking pictures, any media that you guys want to put together, you know, Carl, Denny, you know, we're going to hit up Freddie and basically all the teams and try to have like a media consolidation strategy so we can put together a big slideshow and stuff and show the Wade's Wings Foundation what our people are doing and start to build awareness for it. So it's going to be great, man. I think I want to thank everybody who's involved, going to get involved. Everybody, thanks so much for your time and for the gracious donations.
Yeah, cool. We're doing about the same thing at CrossFit Gwinnett, having kind of like the day that's going to be the class WOD throughout the day, have like a donation bucket or whatever where they can log on and do something. Just, I think that's really what you have to do is just get out there and just get your members getting moving and realize the cause. I put out some printouts of the post that John has and some of the Wade's Army stuff for people to just like have on hand and read about and sort of get passionate about it. So we're hoping to raise some money too.
Nice. Good stuff. That's awesome. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Carl, like Luke had said earlier, you're like one of the, on the intern staff, working up to be like satellite coaching, right? Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you guys are doing out at CrossFit South Bend.
Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll kind of start just with my getting involved with CrossFit. So kind of found CrossFit like in 2007 because of some guys I played rugby with. And after being involved with that, kind of been one of their friends on the rugby team's like, hey, there's this thing called CrossFit football. It looks like it'll work really well for rugby. So it's kind of evolved from that and kind of been following CrossFit football ever since. And then last year when they put out that kind of the call out, it kind of seemed to fit. And so it's just kind of been since then getting to seminars, really trying to learn this stuff, get the stuff down, and then implying or using that within our gym to kind of just continue to spread it.
And is your gym like, because I've gone on the website and looked and are you guys following the program solely, or am I just looking at like a part of what you guys are doing over there, down there?
Yeah, so right now we currently have 2 classes that we offer. So we kind of like our general population or our main programming. And for our main programming, yeah, we are very heavily CrossFit football inspired. Myself, the other owner, some other coaches and members, we've been following CrossFit football for a while. So that has a heavy influence on us. So for our general population, we use the collegiate strength template to program the strength for our general population. We kind of like that because it offers a little bit of variety. Ideally, everyone would do the linear progression, but sometimes it's hard to tack down people. And then for our Metcons, we kind of follow the same guidelines that we set out in the seminar for that. But then we'll still add in some more, I guess you can say, CrossFit-y type movements. So we'll still do things like the other day we do wall balls, or we'll do longer runs or something like that, kind of fits a little bit outside of the CrossFit football specificity. And then we also offer a CrossFit football specific class where we just follow the website as written, 1 week behind.
Nice. That's awesome. And how's, what kind of, I mean, how do you see like the client morale with those options? I mean, because I've thought about doing the same thing here, offer like a CrossFit football class only, or something more specific. And I'm just curious in how, success stories of how that's working.
Yeah. So for our CrossFit football specific class, I think it's kind of allowed people, we always ask people, CrossFit mantra, what are you training for? And so I think this allows people another outlet if they have specific goals, whether we have some people in there just looking to get bigger, stronger, faster. And so that really fits their goal. So they can shift into another class that's going to be more in line with that. And then we do have some athletes that it fits right with their sport. So it gives them another option outside of our general programming to get some more coaching and more directed programming. So I think they really enjoyed it a lot.
And one thing, one thing Carl has insight to, because Carl, how many, you've been to a handful of seminars assisting, right? And then not the couple that you've also attended as an attendee?
Yeah, that's correct.
After you get through a half dozen of these things, you begin to understand the difference between CrossFit football, the application of the method that we refer to as power athlete. So even though Carl's saying like, hey, we gotta throw in some more traditional functional movements that you'd see in a general pop class just to keep our people happy. CrossFit football, the seminar is one thing and the program is one thing. When you go to the seminar, we covered the template, right? What you see on the website is really an application of the template we cover in the seminar. So there's kind of this pecking order. We start with the method, the power athlete philosophy, which is posture, position, replicating movement patterns in the sport that you're training for, which is now how you replicate or what movement patterns you're going to incorporate are going to be based off of our favorite tagline. What are you training for? Right. So that's how we reverse engineer it. Then we got to determine what the athlete's limiting factors are. We take the template, assess limiting factors, and then we apply the template and the methodology to create a program. That's how you get to this program, right? And you could skin that dozens of different ways and still elicit a very similar training response. And we do the same thing at Balboa. I mean, we start at the method base. We have our staff meeting, sit around a table. We talk about, what are we establish really with your general pop, you establish the goals for them. Because a lot of people walk in and you go, what are you training for? And they're like, what do you mean training? I just show up to have a good time. It's like, well, okay. So as a coach, it's my responsibility to establish your training goal. And then we put together a program that's conducive to that training goal. And then we provide an experience based off of that program. So you get to understand where the divergence is, because as part of the seminar, we have people programmed, right? And we have them put together a program, and every program is based off of the experience of the attendee. So you see who gets it and understands how to apply the method, and then who doesn't, and who just kind of resorts to throwing darts and going back to their own programming practices. But it's interesting to hear Carl talk about how he implements this stuff. And we also have CrossFit football class. It used to just be a few guys on the periphery and on the fringe doing the workouts, and then we formalized it and decided to throw a couple coaches and dedicate it to our people, because we didn't think they wanted that none of them have indicated that they wanted to train like a power athlete, even though they already were. And now it's our most popular class. I mean, we have 25 people on a daily basis in our CrossFit football class, and we're holding them to a higher standard. And we, since it's a program that the demands are already assumed, we've already established what you're training for. We've put together the sets, reps, and movement patterns that are going to drive the stimulus we want. People are just having a blast with it. So Denny, I guess what I'm saying is, if you want to if you build it, they will come. You'll be surprised at how many people are going to be like, what is this thing? I want in on it. And what we've done as coaches here at Balboa is put our foot down in the sense that when it comes to training for GPP and getting fit, there is room for margin of error, right? You can let some things slide. Some people have poor movement patterns, but it's unloaded, so you're going to be okay with it. And it's about having a good time and getting in shape. That works. But when you have this CrossFit football class, it's about enforcing the methodology. And you guys know what it is. We preach it for 30 episodes on this podcast. And you heard K-Star and John argue to a phantom website about it for an hour and 20 minutes last week, So I guess that's
one of the biggest things that I've learned from doing these shows and attending a couple seminars, and just watching the program for 4 years it's once you start understanding like the theory of it's heavy weights, it's practical, obviously posture and position, but I mean it transfers into everything, and I like when I talk to people and say stuff like CrossFit football who are unaware of it, they're like, well, I don't play football. The name I think kind of throws it off right away. And it's like, well, it's more like a constant search in human performance. The things that you're doing, it's like you guys are doing all these experiments, and what you put out there is, what works, and it's like biomechanically sound. You're not Bon Jovi fucking running around on one leg, swinging your hips side to side, all this unnatural, ugly movement. That's not acceptable. What is acceptable is shit that's proven on the field, proven in the world of physics, and obviously just picking up heavy shit. You throw in the ability to, or the programming of picking up heavy weights just makes it more fun. I guess what I'm trying to say is just like by learning more, I can just see how the program is just like this search for like the top level performance that a human can perform in, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Steve, are you awake?
I am. Yeah, no, I was on mute because
I know, man.
No, but I feel the same way. It's like just like trying to reach an optimal, right? Some kind of like optimal human condition. And that's probably different for like somebody like me who's about to, push that 4.0 mark. And right now I'm training a couple kids that are, one kid is 19 years old. He says to me, I can't wait until I'm not a teenager anymore. And I'm like, I kick him in the balls, like, fuck you, But the power athlete model works perfect for him because he's a semi-pro baseball player. And so applying that model is perfect, but it doesn't always apply for like the housewives, but you can tweak it to solve any problem of optimizing, position and posture and fitness. That's kind of my idea about it.
And that's a good segue into our next part. I mean, how would you tweak that for, say, a swimmer? Right? We had somebody send an email to Power Athlete Headquarters, Chad Dame. He says, hi, I'm a strength coach for our school. Its main focus is football. I've been using the CrossFit football programming with good results. I've tried to get other sports to do this as well for the power athlete benefits. One sport I'm wondering about is swimming. What's your opinion on using the CrossFit football program for swimming? I guess, obviously you would have to tweak that somehow, but
we probably should have had Ruff on.
Yeah.
Isn't he working some
So here's the deal. Like, as you evaluate the sport, what is the ultimate training goal? You tap into either energy system and you reinforce movement patterns. And when you think about a swimmer, what they're utilizing both compound joints, your hips and your shoulders. So I would consider them an overhead athlete. So you have to retain the integrity of that shoulder girdle so you can effectively reach and pull and go through your stroking motion. Now, when you look at the energy system, it's like track, right? You have long distance athletes and short distance athletes. And I'm not sure so he's high school, right? Denny?
Yeah, he's high school.
So
he's high school football oriented, and it sounds like he wants to get the swim team involved in lifting some weights.
Then get him to lift weights. I mean, at the end of the day, in terms of those younger athletes, they're going to be able to accomplish anything, right? I mean, when you get to that young athlete, you build posture, you build position, you start building coordination, movement pattern, and the rest kind of comes, right? I don't know if you guys want to tap in with anything.
Yeah, I'm just going to comment on that real quick because we just recently had a couple of swimmers show up at our gym, high school swimmers. They swim for Swim Atlanta and basically applying power athlete model, right? So they squat a couple of times a week, they press, they do the power moves, power snatch. Of course, we always do power snatch and power cleans and jerks because of our gym. And quick little 12-minute or less finishers, conditioning. Within 6 weeks, both of them broke through their goals. The one kid came in, he wanted a sub 1 minute, 100 or something. Kid must weigh about 40 pounds and came in and just busted through it, starting to get muscle, starting to get lean, strong. Overhead is going up like crazy. I think he probably weighs maybe 80 pounds. I think he squatted 100 kilos the other day. I mean, it was like ridiculous. And so it's the same thing. It's a performance based. So if they, you get in, get them lifting weights and then do the right kinds of movements. Train them like a sprinter if they're a sprint swimmer and train them like a long distance runner if they're a long distance swimmer, and then get them to lift weights because it's always going to benefit them. Get them to do some dynamic hip movement and stabilize that shoulder girdle, like you said, Luke.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
We've had some great results with our swimmers. Doing well, like making state level teams and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, one thing I had kind of thought of when I've dealt with only a handful of swimmers. Over the summer we had one, and I don't know if Chad's been to CrossFit football seminar or not, but a lot of the drills that we work on and skills work on that separating the hips from the shoulders. So I know an event like a freestyle, that is very crucial to be able to, when you turn to open up to breathe, not to have your whole body turn with you. So that was one thing that we worked on with our swimmer, was to really drive home that separation of hips and shoulders, because he was a freestyle swimmer. And then just kind of that violent hip extension, getting off the blocks. I know he said kind of if you can get that block, you can get that good start, you can get out a bit more. That was very beneficial to him. So those were kind of some of the carryovers I saw from the CrossFit football methodology into his specific sport.
Carl made a great point. Like, have you been to the seminar? When we talk about CrossFit football program, what we're publishing on CrossFitFootball.com is simply a strength workout and a conditioning workout. Part of a program is going to be your warm up, your cool down, whatever, sport specific skill work you're going to be doing, what other skill work that you're going to be doing. And we just can't program that on the site, because we don't know if you're truly a football player, if you're a swimmer, if you're a track athlete. We provide you with a shell of a program. So what Carl said is great. Like the skill building that we do within a warm up, we preach this at the CERT. A warm up's your opportunity to elevate heart rate, stimulate central nervous system function, and increase blood flow, right? But that's just kind of the superficial purpose of a warm up. When we have our athletes warm up at our gym, we accomplish that. You could do that 1,000 different ways. But if you could pair it with warm-up protocols that also build the skill to do things like separate your hips from your shoulder, dissociate hip extension with spinal extension, right? There's all sorts of bad habits that we have, and we have to actively work on breaking those habits and building good movement patterns. And that just does not happen when you start the clock, right? So you trick your athletes, you say you're doing a warm-up, you make something hard, it effectively warms them up and prepares them for the workout. But what you're actually doing is spending 20 minutes in unlearning shitty movement and building good movement. And I guess, my opinion of using CrossFit football program for swimming, do it. But what you have to effectively, it won't hurt your swimmers, but what you have to effectively do is for those athletes that don't have good habits and can't separate, like Carl said, they turn their head, they turn their whole shoulders, they turn their hips. Now, all of a sudden, they're in an effective position to transmit force and continue swimming. How are you going to fix that, right? And we have those tools at the seminar, and that's in the form of a half a dozen of the warm-up protocols that we have implemented that are focused on developing proper mechanics in terms of separating shoulders from hips.
There you go, Chad.
There you go. That's a great answer.
So I guess the answer is go to the CERT, and we'll blow your mind and give you all your answers you need.
Yeah. Well, it should almost be assumed that if you're listening to this, or if you're going to email, you guys out there, that you should have attended a CERT by now.
Oh, no, I wish that was the case, Denny.
I mean, come on. Let's step up to the plate. That was the first seminar I ever went to. I mean, that picture that John put out there on his bulking protocol number 2, he's got his arm around Neil. That was probably taken at the CERT that I went to.
Yeah, it was.
He was huge. I remember it reminded me of that scene out of the Green Mile where John Coffey comes up. He's going to heal that sheriff's wife's, the sheriff's wife. She's screaming in bed. She's got this tumor or whatever. And John Coffey has to step down to step into the normal doorway. And then he stands back up again and he's almost like head to the ceiling. That's how John Wellborn walked into CrossFit Naperville.
Yeah.
We all just kind of were sitting around. We turn our head. He bows down to walk through the door, and then he stood up and filled up the whole place.
Well, what you got? He was bowing down to me because he knew I was going to be the future catalyst of CrossFit Football Power Athlete. Yeah.
He kind of looked at you, and then you looked at him. You guys gave each other this weird nod, like you grew up with each other or something. And then
it was like that scene.
I'm seeing like these Hans and Franz videos of you and Ben. I'm like, look at Luke, man. He's like part of the staff now.
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday as John and I were running an errand. We're going up to LA. I'm like, how the hell did I get here? what the hell happened to me? But here I am pursuing world domination. Yeah, he's got a picture of that cert with, it's like the cert staff, which was him, Kate, Roth, and Ben, with our coaching staff. And I'm just kind of off to the left. And dude, I look like I weigh maybe 150 pounds. And it's because at that time, that's what my training was. We didn't, while I was following CrossFit football to a T, we entered a 6-month paleo challenge and results-based challenge. And, as kind of like as a head trainer at CrossFit Naperville, it was my job to really embody and embrace the initiative and be part of it and be in the mess with it with all of our clients. And it was a weight loss deal. And the best way I knew how to lose weight was increase activity, reduce caloric consumption. And that's what we were doing. And Jay Willie just kicked the door in like Kramer. He's here right now. John, we're talking about that picture you post on Bulking Protocol. The one where your traps are as big as, I don't know.
Neil's head.
But yeah, dude. So I was like caloric restricted. I was down to maybe 185 pounds there, but I was shredded. But then, I realized that week at that seminar, one of the workouts is some runs, some pull-ups, and deadlifts at 315. And dude, it took me like 18 minutes to get that workout done because I would not break. I would not break form. I rested as much as I needed. And the deadlifts were heavy for me, I think it's only like 15 deadlifts we have to do on the podcast. 15 deadlifts that we have to do on this workout. And like, we just did that workout 2 days ago and it took me, what was it, Sprig, like 3 minutes ish, maybe 5. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Emphasis on ish.
On your bulking protocol.
Where we put on that?
I'm looking at it right now. I'm showing him a picture right now, Denny, and his trap is legitimately, his right trap is the size of Neil's face.
I know, man.
I was real strong, man. I pulled over 700 at that point.
So
definitely a lot bigger.
Yeah, man, those were the days. Just weighing under 200 pounds, getting tossed around like a rag doll.
But you had those abs.
That's right, dude. But what else, Denny? What else?
Well, we got Inclidon coming on the show next.
Yeah,
you guys have heard. You've heard John. You've heard Luke refer to Tom Inclidon. If not, you can go to his website, and here's just like a couple sentences for those of you who don't know who this man is. Here's what it says. Since 1989, Dr. Thomas Inclidon has maintained a significant role in the fields of human health and sports performance enhancement. He currently serves as the CEO of Human Performance Specialists, Inc., and Human Health Specialist, where he helps individuals for all walks of life improve their health, quality of life, and athletic performance. He also advises some of the world's most popular dietary supplement and nutraceutical companies on effective formulations. This guy's telling fucking supplement companies what to put in their product. Right?
I think you got to let John give a proper representation of who Dr. Tom Inclidon is.
Okay. I actually, Tom called me at like 7 o'clock this morning, so I got about an hour of Inclidon this morning. Dr. Tom is not only a scientist, but also probably one of the smarter people on the planet in terms of just the body and supplements and food. I mean, if you do a search on him, I mean, the guy was writing for Muscle and Fitness long before anybody, on this podcast even knew what Muscle and Fitness was. Tom is also holds a couple world records in strongman. I know he rack pulled like 938 at a body weight of like 200 pounds. So he has got like a 4 times body weight rack pull. He was also training as an Olympic lifter. So he was a high caliber Olympic lifter when he was younger. I know he also graduated from like Doogie Howser style, like graduated high school pretty young, like in his teens, low teens, went to college, went to med school, dropped out of med school because he thought that it was kind of a hand job, and he realized that his time would be better served working as a scientist. I met Tom in 2000 and or 2002.
Wasn't it in like the parking lot of Sizzler or something?
Yeah, it was actually on Sunset Boulevard outside the Comedy and Magic Club. I had gotten sick my first year in Kansas City, which would have been 2003 rather. And I had, got all this work done. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I just was like hammered all day. Like I couldn't move. My body was aching. I was having a lot of problems. I know we talked about this a little bit. And I thought, seriously, I put it got on the internet, and the internet told me I had leukemia. So I called, I swear to God, like you go to Public Med, you start looking at, symptoms, and it's like, yeah, I got leukemia. So I call my buddy, Bob Sapp, and I'm like, Bob, I think I have leukemia. And he's like, you don't have leukemia. I'm like, dude, Public Med said I had leukemia. And he's like, well, I know this scientist guy that works with terminally ill patients. And he's, pretty much like, if you have no hope, literally like death's knocking on your door, you call this guy, and he's one of the best in the world. So I called the guy up, and he's like, hey, I happen to be in LA. I'm actually up at the Comedy and Magic Club on a date. But he's like, if you want to drive up here, I'll sneak out and we can talk in the parking lot. And I'm like, this is my kind of guy, instant service. So I get in the car. I'm at my mom's house in Palos Verdes, Torrance area, and I drive up there and I meet Tom. And this guy comes out, and he's, pretty muscular dude. And I'm like, oh, this guy's a scientist. And you start talking with him, and he's like, this dude's pretty heady. And he's like, well, let's start testing. So the next week I go to Tom's house over in Arizona, and in his kitchen, he took like somewhere between 60 and 70 vials of blood off me over like 3 or 4 hours. I thought I was like a vampire. He stole so much blood. And he did this whole workup on me and found out that I had been infected with of the 15 types of toxic mold that he tested me for, like, toxic level of all of them. So he put me on a supplement protocol, and we started doing some IVs and a bunch of stuff. And in a matter of 3 weeks, I was better. And these doctors couldn't tell me what's wrong. So Tom's really been my go-to guy for, supplement testing. He's worked with pretty much the who's who of the NFL, Major League Baseball. I remember one time he called me, and he was in New York. He had gotten flown out there to work with some professional athletes. And he's like, yeah, I just worked on this guy named D-Rod. And I was like, you mean A-Rod? He's like, yeah. Alex. I thought it was a D. Tom's not a sports fan and doesn't know who anybody is. He's just, he's worked with, professional fighters. I mean, he has worked with probably more professional athletes and more big time people than anybody I've ever met in my life. And is pretty much, I believe right now, probably the foremost expert in the world on cartilage and joint regeneration. About almost 10 years ago, we started talking about how do you rehab joints? These guys, myself included, damaged knees, damaged shoulders. Tom, from having a successful strongman career, has got a, injured hip in his elbow and a lot of different injuries, and has pretty much become the foremost expert, I believe, in the world on cartilage regeneration and the rehabbing of joints. So if you guys want to know about, sports medicine for fixing injuries, Tom also had an interesting deal where when he was at Arizona State finishing his one of his degrees, they did a program where they actually trained a bodybuilder and was the last all natural winner of an open bodybuilding of a major bodybuilding contest. And I think it was either the Arnold or the Night of Champions or some big bodybuilding show. And they actually trained the guy for their research project, and he was the last all natural winner that they've had. And you can talk to them about how they did it and the testing and the matrix and all that. So in terms of performance, injuries, anything you want, he is about the world's expert, or at least I believe pretty high up there. If there's somebody who knows more than him, I'm sure he's contacted him and already done like a brain drop on him. So I've been going, dealing with Tom for years, and I've taken these guys out to work with Tom, and they always kind of leave and they're like, dude, this guy is entirely way too smart. So, and a super strong guy and knows a lot about training. He's got a performance center over in Arizona, and we do a lot of work with him. He's spoken several times for the CrossFit football seminars, and has really been pretty sharp and in terms of supplements and fueling performance. And even though we kind of disagree on some things, he's always been real enlightening for me.
Awesome. So we got him scheduled for the next show. That's going to rock. And there's a few other guests we're lining up. So there's a lot going into 2014. Power Athlete Radio taking over the world.
So what'd you guys think of the bulking protocol?
Loved it.
I loved it, man. It's right at where I need to be. Last weekend I finished up. It was called the Mid-American Weightlifting Championships in Schaumburg, Illinois, at CrossFit Rise. And now that that's kind of over with, I'm ready to just kind of change my training a little bit. The majority of it's been like Oli, snatch, clean and jerk, squat, front squat, press, all that. So I want to get back to just like, CrossFit football. I think I just might kind of unfuck my head for a while and just let you guys tell me what to do and put on some weight, right? It's going into November. I mean, that's generally when the Midwestern's kind of thicken up a little bit anyway. I don't know how you guys do out there on the West Coast with all that heat. And, here, everybody puts on about 10 pounds. So it just all seemed to kind of fit into place. The training, bulking up, training protocol number 2. It's time to, put on some weight, move some heavy weights, kick some ass.
Nice.
So how'd you do in that competition, Denny? Why do we gloss over that?
I totaled 213, and that qualifies me for the Pan Am Games, right, in 2014 in March, because I'm now in the 40 to 44 age bracket, and they're all a bunch of weak-ass pussies in that age bracket because of 213 qualifies me to go to the Pan Ams. I mean, that was...
What were your numbers on the individual?
It was a 93 kilo snatch and 120 clean and jerk.
I hope you...
And I went out there, that's about
express this.
10 kilos from my...
I hope you power snatched it. I hope you power snatched, power clean, and push pressed it because, Denny, I mean, come on, you can fucking press 93 kilos.
Dude, you know what? I did power snatch my first one. Those kind of competitions are different because, I could probably hit my 1 rep max snatch, which is 100 kilos. I could probably hit that maybe 2 times out of, 5 or 6 attempts if I was warmed up and ready to go. You know what I mean? So when you're going to go out on a stage and you have to get at least a number, like powerlifting, when I warmed up, I kind of warmed up to that number and then went out there and tried to pull it. Here, backstage, I was hitting, numbers higher. So I could feel that heavy weight, right? Because when you got to pull it fast and to get under it in an established position, you could dump the weight, even though it's something that you can stand up with, but you could dump it just because you didn't get your arms right. So I didn't want to go out there and like on my first attempt, try my PR. I mean, I put out some numbers that I could, land and do it correctly. And, I was happy with like a 213 total. But like I said, it was about 10 kilos less than what my current PRs are. And it was fun. It was interesting,
Nice.
Nice. Good job, Denny. I'm in the same boat. I got the American Masters Championship coming up next weekend, actually. And then going to start the bulking protocol right after that. I just got to make weight. I live at 94, so.
That was a huge mistake that I did is I wanted to go in as an 85. And
Playtech.
85 is a girl weight. Why would you want to go in a girl weight?
But
Playtech, you only weigh 94 kilos?
Well, yesterday I weighed 95.
Wow.
Are you a grown man?
I'm barely a man, John.
Man.
No, I mean, that's like, 210.
207 is 94.
Yeah, 207. Oh, that's, wow. I seriously thought you were like 230. That's
Really?
Yeah. Well,
after the bulking protocol, maybe I will. I power snatched 100 the other day, hoping to get 130 or 135 clean and jerk. We'll see.
Yeah, so it's, aren't you doing 2, Steve? Aren't you going to do an Olympic lifting one and a powerlifting one?
No, because when that squat crushed me a couple weeks ago, I can't really like hit the back squat real good. It just like when I ended up going to the doctors and I tore a couple of intercostals and they're just slow to heal. You can't do anything. So they're feeling good now. But yeah, so I'm not going to hit that. I'm not going to let the bar come down to my chest and jack my shit up too old. So I'm just gonna.
Actually, compression, like if you wrap ace bandages around your midsection real tight, like around your rib cage, it'll actually pull it in tight. And like the intercostals, you can actually kind of deal with it. I know that because I tore an intercostal and they wrapped a real tight wrap around me. But imagine trying to play football with like your chest constricted with a tight wrap. So I remember like huffing and puffing because I had all this compression on my chest. So that was, I mean, you could probably it might even help in a squat. I don't know if they'd let you do it, but yeah, actually wrapping up your chest with like a tight ace bandage actually helps.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that last time. And when I talked to Caleb about it, or I talked to somebody about it, they said that they didn't think it would fly. So I'm just going to do the Olympic meet, and then I'll hit another powerlifting meet in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, just throw on a t-shirt. I'm sure nobody will notice. Hey, like, is that guy wearing a girdle?
What's that?
No, not a girdle.
I don't wear shirts, John. I don't wear shirts.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
no shirts.
Skin it to win it.
Nice. So yeah, that's I'm excited to read part 3 of the bulking protocol. How soon is that going to come out, John?
What's part 3?
I thought you ended it saying that wait for part 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what part 3 is though. Is it? Oh, it's the meal timing, and then we also have tricks, and then we have a straight up hypertrophy program that we designed to actually go with the bulking protocol. That's, but I don't know. I mean, we might have to make that into an ebook just because I don't think I could post it. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's quality stuff.
Yeah, it's actually really good. So yeah, it's actually the hypertrophy program that we did with Ben and Luke and those guys about a year ago, and it definitely it's about 12 weeks long, and it definitely hits some pretty interesting stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
And something like what John and I have been spent a lot of our time yesterday in the car talking about is if we do something like this, the trick about it, I mean, if you were to put out a program that's for hypertrophy and some unadapted athlete gets their hands on it and they happen to be a squeaky wheel and it doesn't work because they're not yet adapted and you can't elicit the stimulus we're looking for out of them, then all of a sudden we have someone shitting on our program. And so we're trying to figure out a good strategy on how we can provide this information for people. And make sure it works.
Yeah. Because I mean, with the thing, and this is, I know this sounds crazy, but you have to match the training with your level of adaptation. So I mean, we've been saying it for years, and we say it at the seminar, and you've heard me beat it to death, and maybe 200 or 300 blog posts and Talk to Me Johnny, where it's like, dude, a beginner amateur cannot train the same way as an advanced individual. That you can, I can hand you the program that the Russian Olympic team did in the 80s, which I actually have one of the Russian Olympic programs that those guys used is, for 14 or 16 weeks building up to the Olympics. Looking at the program, like if you were to hand that program to a beginning Olympic lifter, would he get the same gains as that guy? No. Like beginners have to train like beginners. And then the intermediate athlete has to train similar to the intermediate athlete. And then, as you get into a more advanced athlete, everything has to change. And the program has to become on a longer timeline. With our beginners, we can recycle the program every week because it's a linear progression. You get into a collegiate program, and it's more of a 3-week cycles and really 6-week cycles when we break it into it. And then you get into the advanced stuff, and the cycles are really last anywhere from 12 to 24 weeks. And if you notice that the frequency of the movements and how we pair them and all that kind of you don't get to see it because the workout's posted every day, and unless you were to actually write it all up and we'd explained it to you, you kind of see it. But I think when, we have in this day and age with the internet, everybody's always going to look for what's the most advanced, what's the hardest, we see it all the time with the outlaw stuff. I've never CrossFitted before, and I'm going to try to make the CrossFit Games sweet. I'm going to do the outlaw program, not realizing that you got to be a pretty special athlete to be able to handle that much intensity, that much volume, and people start coming apart at the seams. And, the problem is that people just need to be realistic about where they are in their training. And here's the big thing. It's not embarrassing. It's not a strike against you that you're new to this stuff. It's actually a plus, which means that if you're new to this, you will make gains faster than some fucking dried up asshole like me.
And you have an opportunity to do it right.
Yeah. From day one. I mean, what we're also trying to do is trying to put out a program that prevents you from falling into the pits of injury and messing up that I did. So, I mean, when I look at this thing, like there should be like this is year 1 and year 2, and you go on. And the Russians had a couple, a bunch of books. I mean, Louis Simmons is called Training, multi-year training for an athlete. What does that training look like day 1 to the first year and the third year? And then how do you progress them from their intermediate phase into their world-class phase? And it's just, that's something that we've really been working on to try to be able to come out with not only the information for the Power Athlete book, which would be kind of a manual of sorts, but then also come out with that training, a multi-year, Power Athlete. Like, how does it look like in the first 20 to 6 months? And then at which point do you workbook it over and move into a more intermediate template? And then once you're in that intermediate template, you've obviously established that you have a certain genetic potential to be able to jump into that professional level. And it's not a simple undertaking, and it's taken not only 20 years of my life to do it, but it's also 5 years of looking across a football, training with these guys and seeing where these guys are in the adaptation, and looking at girls like Chelsea and Callie and seeing where they are, and then realizing that there's this huge, difference between training female versus male athletes based on, some physiology, and then cheating the physiology with lactic acid threshold training we do. I mean, there's just a lot of variables. And I wish I could just crunch it all up into a book and fucking spit it out there for people. But, it's a work in progress. And like, I see people that are just like pumping out these books, like ebooks, like they're fucking herpes on spring break. And I'm just like blown away. I'm like, dude, are people just writing nonsense to fucking put it out there? I mean, like, where's the substance? Where's the, we've done this, we realize this is the issue and this is the direction we've gone and this is how we're remedying it. And I think that's what's, Luke and I drove up to get the camera fixed yesterday, which was pretty funny because we got about 2 hours in the car to actually talk about this. And I'm like, dude, I have written really cool programs. We've done really cool stuff. They've elicited the response. But the problem is when you put them out there, people are going to look at it and be like, great, I'm going to do this. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. But, you have to match up your level of training. Like, we almost need like a questionnaire that it's like, okay, answer all these questions. And if you get to the end based on these questions, then this is what direction you are. And maybe that's how we put it together. We put together a questionnaire. You fill out the questionnaire and we send you the program that fits with it.
You have to find out if you're a big monkey or a little monkey, right?
Yeah. I mean, that
was awesome. That was a good story you told on that the other week when you're on that other podcast.
Yeah. I mean, the big monkey deal is, important because not enough training and you're not going to elicit the response. Too much training and you're going to put yourself into overtraining and have some negative problems. Maybe that's another part of the questionnaire. And it's, but what's interesting, the way we kind of figure out big monkeys versus small monkeys is we start everybody at the same place. And if you can handle 4 workouts, we move to 5 workouts, and you move to 6 workouts, and you start adding workouts. And as long as you're continuing to get strong and stay recovered, like as if I feel good, I wake up, I have good energy, my sleep is good. What does my weight look like? What does my blood pressure look like? I mean, you start taking all these metrics, and if you are continuing to get stronger and the program is working, then you can continue to add volume. The problem is that if as you are progressing and you keep adding more and more frequency of movement and training and this, all of a sudden you start getting negative effects. Like I'm getting weaker, I'm getting injured, I am, I'm not recovering in this, then you have to ratchet it back and start finding, the dose relating. The problem is people really ignore the physical signs. Like all of a sudden, hey, I've been squatting 5 days a week and I can't walk down a stair or a set of stairs because my knees are in such pain that my patellar tendons are giving out, my knees are buckling. So I got to walk down sideways. That's a good indication that you are doing a frequency that is too high for where you were at, or or maybe you're not doing enough recovery. Every one of these programs, when you look at like the high level Olympic and a lot of these, training programs, there's always a caveat in it that's like restoration techniques have to be maximized. Like I remember that's at the top of that Russian program, which probably, it's got to be 20 years old. But I remember looking at it, and I got given it years ago. And the first thing it says is after it talks about, sets and reps and how to decipher the program, restoration techniques need to be maximized to survive this training. That's what they said. I mean, it's like you're reading it. You're like, not like complete this training, survive this training. And then you're going and you're looking at the reps and you're looking at the frequency and, you're looking at the total volume and the tonnage. And you're like, dude, this is a ton of volume. And where people really mess it up is the Russians looked at basing everything off of competition maxes, or what they say their CTs, their competition or their competition lifts, whereas the Bulgarians looked at everything as their training maxes. So when you look at the Russian program and they say, hey, I want you to squat 80%, that's 80% of your best squat, or I want you to snatch 75%. That's snatching 75% at your best snatch. Whereas the Russian stuff or the Bulgarian stuff was like, okay, I want you to, train at 90%. Well, we know that there's about a 10% swing between training with a low heart rate, calm and collected, versus, going into a competition. Denny, you were just there, like you said, the juices are flowing. All of a sudden, you might dump a relatively light weight just because you're nervous. You haven't competed in front of people. So when we do a lot of our training here, we always tell people, like, this is a long journey. I don't need to fucking pump the music up to 10, fucking rip my shirt off, spit in my mouth, slap me across the face, and take a fucking gallon of NO explode and try to get under and squat that weight. I mean, the amount of psychological and emotional stress that takes to do is extremely fucking debilitating. So what we say is, dude, calm, cool, and collected. I want you to get up there. I don't want a high heart rate. I want you to bang out these reps. And so we really train within what we call our training maxes. And a lot of the percentages are based on the training maxes. Just because, we almost want, like, I don't need you to be as psyched in the weight room as you are on game day to come train. And the problem is because you can only do that once a week. I don't know guys that can naturally come in every single day, like ready to rip a phone book in half. And if they're doing it, they're usually taking something pre-workout to get them there. And if all of a sudden you start depending on training aids just to get you, to get you up, pretty soon you're going to be depending on training aids just to get you to even. And then what happens if all of a sudden you don't have your magic potion that day? I played with dudes that were, popping pills and taking all this crazy shit all the time. And I in training camp, and my deal was like, that's fine, take it. But you can't take that shit for 6 weeks. You sure as hell can't take it for 17 weeks. And all of a sudden, dudes would come out that first day, all fucking high on whatever they want to take. And we'd go out and bang it up. And I'd be like, all right, you know what? It's 100 degrees out. Let me see how bad you're dehydrated. They'd always end up fucking it up. And, they couldn't maintain that level of intensity. And I really got that from John Runyon, where he was like, hey, the game's the game, practice is practice. You got to be able to, go out and do your job and then elevate it. And if you're taking all the shit before the game or before practice just to get you up there, you're not going to be able to elevate as high. So, it's just, just kind of observations of having trained and how we kind of design the program. And, what we really need to do is not only have these training modules out there, but there needs to be some online resource. And this is something I'm on Luke to set up about, being able to look at the workout of the day and then click on and then be able to see what the warm up looks like, see what how the whole thing workout goes together. Because, like, for example, with the clusters we just posted, people are like, well, shit, how am I supposed to squat 1 to 2 reps at 90%? Well, I mean, if you look at realistically, most people should be able to squat a 5 RM somewhere around 87.5 to 90% of their 1 RM. So if I ask you to do a single at 90 and wait 30 seconds, give me another single at 90 and then jump it up on that, and bump it up a little bit, 4 to 6 reps at that range is not outside the realm of possible. I mean, I've watched guys squat 7 or 8 reps at 90%. So, but it would be nice to actually have a video or something that goes along where we're actually talking about, okay, why are we doing the clusters? What's the stimulus? How is this driving adaptation that now all of a sudden we're asking you to get, 3 sets of 4 to 6 reps, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 18 reps at over 90%. And if you look at something like Philippin's chart, that's a little on the higher side. But you know what? We know that, that central nervous system efficiency, that myofibrillar hypertrophy, all that stuff happens when you start training north of that 85, 90%. And, that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to find a way to pack volume and get a little extra volume at those higher rep ranges. And we've used rest pauses for years because the ability to, everybody's pretty recovered. And so that's a big thing too. I mean, everybody that's doing this training is in fairly good shape. So we can do things like that. Like if you ask a CrossFitter, or people in a CrossFit competition, hey, I want you to work up to a 1RM and I want you to cut off some weight and I want you to give me 1 rep every 30 seconds. I mean, we saw it at Occupy Strength where we had people working up to their 1RM and getting 3 lifts in 3 minutes. People were resting 45 to 60 seconds between 1RM lifts.
Remember when we were at that competition, they gave you 3 minutes to unknown workout and they announced it. And it's you have 3 minutes to get
to your 1RM.
2 minutes to get your 1RM back squat.
Yeah, they gave people 2 minutes to get to a 1RM back squat. And dude, and they nobody warmed up. It was basically dudes were getting under. They were doing 100 kilos and then loading on 200. And dude, there was the craziest shit. People were ditching the bar. People were coming apart at the seams.
There's dudes who were unloaded they had maybe 70 kilos on one side and 110 on the other.
Yeah. It was a complete clusterfuck. I'm surprised somebody didn't die. But the clusters. I mean, and the clusters are great done with contrast training. Last year when we were doing clusters with power cleans. This year we just did the clusters, and then we'll go into a different part with our Russian stem. So, I mean, we're just really rotating the training, and it's kind of interesting. And we're repeating training blocks right now of what we did last year and 2 years ago. We're repeating some training blocks, and just because it's interesting for me to look at the data points compared to where people were last year, and how the weights they were handling. I mean, the comments are down and, I know the comments always aren't representative of the people doing the training. I think people just get tired of fucking commenting or posting their results. But it's important because it allows us to really see, how the program is progressing. Are people getting better? Does it fit within where we are in this deal? And right now we're trying to basically, for the guys that aren't playing football, we're trying to basically add some volume and create some hypertrophy right now. As you notice, going into training camp, we got real high, and it was kind of a peak progression to try to do some 1RMs. And now all of a sudden we kind of tailored it back, and there was a little more conditioning, and now it's kind of ramping up. And if you notice, a little longer rest periods, a little more hypertrophy work, and we're trying to put on some more mass and size so that we can, first of the year, we can kind of get back into another phase. And so it's just, the program kind of cycles in 4 ways, and it's kind of interesting in the kind of off season where there is no football, because the program's written for kind of those 4 phases. So for people that aren't playing football, it's what do we do with them? Do we, what's the goal? So right now I'm just trying to fucking see if I can put on some mass and size, and that's why the bulking protocol came out. So hopefully people jump on that and they match it up with the CrossFit football training, and hopefully we can create some bigger, fucking stronger people.
Awesome.
That's great.
I'm not a talker.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Well, that puts us at the 2-hour mark. So
awesome, guys. Is there anything else? I mean, what else we got? We answered Chad's question.
Yeah, we're on schedule, man.
Carl, you got anything?
No, I don't think so. Unless you guys have anything else you want to ask me. I'm not as interested as Kelly.
Don't you say that, Carl.
No, you are. You're more interested than Kelly.
Taruk Makta?
Tarok Makto. He flies around on a winged dragon to assemble. It's pretty cool. He lands it in the parking lot.
That was a mind-melting podcast. People love that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the problem is the whole time I'm talking, he's cutting me off.
No, that's funny. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, I know. I'll tell you this: with Kelly, you almost have to fight for time, or it'll be an hour of him talking the entire time. And I remember sitting there and being like, "Dude, he's got more time. He's got more airtime than me."
Pot kettle black. I mean, guys, am I right?
Yeah, he's a good talker, though.
Who, Starrett?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He just the pitch in his voice, how he changes it. And I don't know. It's like one of those voices where you can just hear him talk no matter what he's saying. Sounds like
Dude,
sounds like it's intelligent.
Kelly has a level of emotional intelligence, and he's an excellent public speaker. His ability to Trey's craft vocally, and his level of vocal awareness is so high that it's nice to be around, and it's great to be involved and work with him. I mean, we've taught seminars with him, and it's always great to sit back and see how he kind of works the room and how he kind of plays into it and creates his ethos, and you can kind of go back and forth. And he's there's a reason why he's one of the best in the world at what he does. It's just not by accident,
And there's a skill to that, presenting in front of a group or just kind of lecturing in general. I saw that in Luke when I attended a seminar in June. And I thought I heard John at one time on a podcast. Didn't you work with like a speech coach?
Yeah, there's a guy named Arthur, and I'm dropping his Arthur. Hang on. What is his name? Arthur. I can't remember Arthur's name.
That's all right.
Oh yeah, Arthur Joseph. I'm sorry. Yeah, Arthur Joseph. I always for some reason I have like a mental block against people that have two first names.
Yeah, never play cards with a man whose last name is a city, and never trust somebody who has two first names.
So Arthur Joseph is he's kind of a legend in a lot of ways with this kind of vocal awareness, and his deal is how to to change the world, and through this vocal awareness and allowing people to be present when they're speaking. If you really notice, a lot of people just brain off, mind off, and just flows out of the mouth. And he's really, really big on staying current and staying in the moment when you speak. And I worked with Arthur after an NFL gig. I did a kind of a continuing education kind of MBA weekend through the NFL, and Arthur was one of the presenters, and we really hit it off. And I went and I worked with him a couple times, and then my wife had the babies, and I've basically been in a hole for the last 2 years. So my ability to drive up to LA to work with a speech guy really got cut short. But he's worked with Tony Robbins and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Barack Obama. He told me an interesting story about 20 years ago. He got flown out to Chicago to meet with Oprah Winfrey, and he walked into Oprah's house, and there was a young guy sitting at the table, and she introduced him as the future president of the United States, and it was Barack Obama. So they've been grooming him for a long time, and I actually reached out to Arthur and about being on our podcast, and he's interested, so we're going to try to set it up. I think not only is he an unbelievable person to speak with, I mean, he's one of those people as you're sitting there, you feel like, wow, it's just so relaxing. It's so nice. It feels so important. He's just a very, very gifted individual. And, I'd love to have him on just because his perception and how he views things is so interesting. And I really think the Power Athlete, audience, would really benefit from just hearing from him. I mean, my goal is to search out and find the best people in the world at what we're talking about and get them on there. And I would love for, at some point, if we got 100,000 downloads and people are like, dude, these guys have some incredible guests. Like, where are they reaching out to these people?
Well, and another thing, Denny, in terms of speaking being a skill, we record all of our lectures at the certs. And as part of continued development, we listen to everything. It's like watching game film, and you hear how you focus on certain inflections, certain words that get the focus of your speech that may or may not deserve it. And you go through and you make these notes. And John puts me onto Arthur's book, and it's funny going through his book. He's got a training system, And when you take that term generically, when you talk about mastery of your craft, whether it's weightlifting, football, swimming, or vocal awareness, legitimately everything's the same. There's warm-up protocols. There's practice protocols. You record, you film, and then you review. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Just, I'm excited. Hopefully we can get him on the podcast because people are going to be amazed at how much a vocal awareness training system resembles that of a training system that focuses on either work capacity or even power development. It's all the same components. It's crazy. You stress the system and it adapts.
Yeah. Imagine that a species that's been evolving for millions of years adapts to stressors. I mean, that's everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what strength and that's what muscle is. I mean, they're adaptations to stress. We've realized that the only way that people actually get better is by putting some form of stress. I mean, it's like if I mean, think about this. If everybody got to go to college and there was no tests, would anybody really study?
Right.
I mean, how many people are legitimately, I mean, I can say that now that if I got to go back to college, I would be one of those annoying people that I probably hated, where I would ask a million questions and I'd be like, Professor, I just really want to I'm just here for the experience more so than like I was, in college trying to play football, maintain my grades, graduate. You're kind of, on this track. And I always wish that I could go back to college now at my age and, actually take it for what it is. Really, like, we always talk about the Dead Poet Society, but suck the marrow out of it, really. I mean, there were so many things that I missed out on just for the mere fact that I was so hyper-focused on just doing well. And
go back, man. Go back.
I would love to. I tell my wife every day
take a night class, in whatever, astronomy or I don't know.
Because I have so much free time. So much free time. We just sit around, screw around all day.
Well, I know. You got little ones and a full schedule, but you don't want to be 50 or 60 and look back and be like, shit, man, I should have taken an astronomy course. I should have listened to Denny and been like, man.
Denny, surprisingly, I have taken an astronomy course in college. I took a Astro 10 that was about interstellar dust, and it was taught by the professor who first theorized supernovas. And I think he was the guy that designed that original screensaver of the supernova. The guy was probably hands down one of the smarter people. And here was the best part about the class. Day one, they gave you the questions to the midterm and the final. So day one, they walked in, they were like, these are the 10 questions that are going to be on your midterm. These are the 10 questions that are going to be on your final. And
was that just to the collegiate athletes who were there on a scholarship, or?
No. Every single person. So they handed these 10 questions and they said, 3 of these questions will be on your midterm. And then here they gave another, here's 10 questions. 3 of these questions will be on your final. Good luck. That was how fucking hard that class was. I had the questions ahead of time. I spent the entire semester writing out those questions and preparing them and then memorizing them for my final. And I think I only got a B- in the class. And I went to office hours every single week and went over them. That's how the level of the class and how difficult it was. So at that point, I realized I'm probably not going to be an astrophysicist.
Damn. Well, like UC Berkeley's like an academic school, right?
Are you kidding?
Well,
yeah, it's pretty good, Denny.
Yeah, I mean, you're up there.
Yeah, I mean,
like West Coast Ivy League.
Denny just spent his weekend with Bon Jovi, so he lost a few brain cells.
Yeah,
on a steel horse I ride.
Oh my God.
That's like, there's a lot of smart guys over at that MIT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. I'm an idiot.
If you look at this stuff, I mean, Berkeley is, got to be top 5. I mean, it's always, Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, Harvard, Yale. I mean, those are really, in terms of pinnacles of learning. And I do have a lot of pride that, Berkeley was a good school. And I really wish I could actually say that if I hadn't played football, I would have got in. But the valedictorian at my high school did not get into Berkeley. So she had like a 1600 SAT, and I think she had like a 4.4 GPA and did not get into Berkeley. So I always feel pretty good about that one with my 1200 SAT and my 3.4 GPA in high school.
Hell yeah, that kind of smashes like the typical athlete stereotype, right? It seems like all the offensive linemen, or most of them, are like the smarter of the group, while the running backs and wide receivers, they don't know anything.
I would say
when the guys get out of football, like politicians and business owners, and they seem to be like offensive linemen.
Well, if you think about it, usually there's a direct correlation to intelligence and how close you are to the ball. So the closer you get to the ball, the more intelligent people are on the offensive side. So like if you look at it, like the quarterbacks and centers are usually pretty sharp, and the guards. And then as you get farther away from the ball, they say that there's and that was pretty interesting. I remember hearing that at the combine. They gave us like a bunch of intelligence tests. And I remember that there was definite scores that you had to fall like with the Wonderlic, and you had to fall within certain categories for your position. That, to be a center, you had to score certain, to guard certain, and tackles could be less. And then, obviously wide receivers, we were kind of lesser, and running backs, but quarterbacks had to have a certain score. And I remember the guy being like, one of the scouts told me the closer you get to the ball, the more intelligent you have to be. So maybe there's a direct correlation to that.
So if you're a safety or a defensive back right now and you're listening to this, you just realized you're an idiot.
Sorry about your luck.
Well, but that only correlates with the offense. Actually, I think it is the farther you get away from the ball on defense, the smarter guys are, and the closer when you get to the ball for defense, it's the dumber you are. So that means that defensive linemen are.
Well, you definitely have to think less on the
mildly,
defensive line.
Yeah, I mean,
it's smash.
It's basically
Hulk smash.
Yeah, Hulk smash, Mongo get ball. So, I mean, the best is we used to come up with like dummy signals, and we used to try to basically like fool the defensive lineman all the time. So we would make dummy calls, we'd make the same call, and we kind of mess with them. The problem is the guy that I played next to, Trey Thomas, would forget, and then he'd be like, No, that's a call. And I'd look over at him. I'd be like, didn't we just say we were going to do a dummy call? And then he's like, no, let's stop doing that. I forget, And I remember, dude, I used to always give him a bad time. I'm like, dude, well, we're going out there to outsmart these guys, and we outsmart ourselves. We're screwed. He's like, yeah, let's not do that. So we stopped doing dummy calls.
All right,
gentlemen.
I got some squad clusters to take care of. Squats.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Another great show as always. Carl, thanks for joining us. Keep kicking ass down there in CrossFit South Bend. Say hello to Aaron, right?
I'll be sure to. He might be out there banging some weights now.
Yeah.
I haven't felt the
And John, thanks for joining us. Steve, Luke, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Adios.
Good, brother.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you
guys.